Okay, well, we're at a couple of minutes past 1 o'clock here. We do want to respect your time. I want to welcome you to the webinar. This is going to be about local SEO, and this is a special agency-only training, so good way to start the year. We suspect most of you know quite a bit about SEO, so this is going to be some kind of key insights into what you really need to do in SEO for local businesses to really succeed this year. And I'll turn the time over to Kevin Brady, who's the president of the Digital Marketing People, who's going to be taking us through things today. Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you. Just to give you a little background on us, we are primarily a white label agency. We started 11 years ago with a product called Community, which was a subscription marketing tool for local businesses. And so our business has always been very focused on local businesses. Community was social media based, and clients got a website, 3 social media channels, paid advertising, and email as part of their subscription. And about 5 years ago, we became interested in Google My Business and in search, and started transitioning a lot of our clients over to Google My Business and search platforms. Today, we're going to talk about some of the things that we've found out over the years. It's been interesting to see the evolution of Google My Business and search. And it has become a very, very powerful marketing tool. As a matter of fact, we see some businesses that don't have websites at all. They just use their Google My Business page to market and advertise their business. So the secret is getting found locally faster. And there are 2 primary channels to consider when we're looking at Google My Business and getting found on search for local businesses. When we first started, the only option was local search. And so we wanted to win in local search. And then Google came along and added the local map pack. And so currently, Google reports that 46% of all people that are doing searches will choose one of the 3 vendors in the local map pack. And so that's a very powerful venue to drive business as well. I've injected some case studies of clients in this presentation, so you can see the results from an optimized Google My Business page or Google Business profile nowadays, and taking advantage of some of the suggestions that I'm going to make for you today. As a pest control company, we were able to increase calls by 120% and website visits by 45% in, 45 days. So the challenge is achieving prominence in relevant local search results in the proximity of the business. And Google, to a certain extent, determines what is proximity for different types of businesses. One of the things that we found was a great advantage in using Google My Business and search was that consumers have already made a subconscious or conscious decision to make a purchase. And so we find those clients that were in Community and in Google My Business and search that had comparable budgets saw 7 times the conversion on the Google My Business search side. So it's very attractive for businesses. About 85% of all the traffic for local businesses comes from people on mobile devices. And Google clued into that fairly early on. And they realized that there was a potential here for local search optimization because they had the GPS coordinates of the person's mobile device, and they had the GPS coordinates of the Google My Business page, now Google Business Profile. And so they started to do search optimization based on GPS. Today, 95% of all traffic to local businesses comes from web properties on the first page of search results. And 76% of consumers have not chosen a vendor when they start the search process. 46% are searching for local businesses to do business with. That's a somewhat dated statistic. I think the emphasis by communities on searching locally and buying locally has shifted that number much higher than it was historically. But obviously, you want to be in the top 3 of organic search. The local map pack is an extremely valuable piece of real estate. As I said, according to Google, 47% of people searching choose one of the 3 businesses in the local map pack. About 64% of those clicks go to the first person. And so that can be critically important to achieve. And Google doesn't make it very clear as to how to go about doing that, but we're going to shed some light on that today. Here's a CBD store that, again, has implemented the strategies that we're talking about today. 111% increase in website visits in 30 days. So Google Business Profile, Google likes people that follow the rules. And there are a lot of options that are available to us on the Google Business Profile. When you get into Google Manager and you just see all of the different things that you can put into your Google Business Profile, it's really quite amazing, and it keeps expanding. Of course, everybody is very familiar with the 8 primary factors that need to be considered, but there are some other options that are available that Google is weighting somewhat differently now. And so it's much more important to pay attention to that. And we'll get into how Google is weighting things in a couple of slides. Weekly postings are important. If you publish good content, Google may extract it as a snippet and repost it, giving your business free publicity. If you turn on voice activation on the Google Business Profile, Google will recognize that as well. The more check boxes you can create for Google, the happier Google's going to be, and the higher they will rank your Google Business Profile. And so when you're looking at in Google Business Manager, that's important to look at what can I turn on in order to get that extra push from Google. Answering questions is significant. We found a significant difference with people's ranking if someone asks a question, and of course, you know the questions that are frequently asked for your business. You could get a friend to ask that question, and then you can answer it. As people look at that answer and they like it, that will really boost your ranking, because Google wants to encourage interactivity. Local landing pages can be a huge help as well. The combination of optimizing the Google Business Profile and deploying local landing pages delivers more prominence in local search. And we'll touch on that in a couple of minutes here. So this is Moz local data from how Google ranks. And there's about 12 metrics that Google monitors on an ongoing basis to determine ranking. You put a lot of information into your GMB, as I said, and that is, of course, the foundation. Google weights that at 7.4. Reviews are critical. It doesn't matter if you're in the first position of organic search, or even if you're in the first position of the local map pack. If you don't have a competitive number of reviews, considering the other people that you're competing against, you're not going to see very much of the business. And so, according to Moz, Google weights that at 6.5. Proximity is huge in the latest algorithm. Moz says that Google's weighting it at 6.4. This is where local landing pages can give you a real tremendous boost. Google tracks longitude and latitude positions in neighborhoods across all of their maps. They don't have every neighborhood with longitude and latitude, but if you can find the neighborhoods that do have longitude and latitude, you can actually position the local landing page at that GPS coordinate. And so people in that neighborhood searching for that service that the landing page is focused on will see that landing page ranking very highly. But it's important to keep the landing pages very lean. Physical address is very important. Service area businesses, to a certain extent, suffer a bit because of this, because a lot of times they're working from their home and they don't want to publish their home address. Nonetheless, Google will track the address you gave them to register the Google business profile. But it's important to maybe look at getting an address, and the requirement is that you should be able to have meetings with people at that address. What we're recommending to a lot of business is to establish an address where you can meet with people and then set it up as appointment only and put in a link to people to make appointments online. And then you don't have to worry about people showing up at the door and you not being there. High quality citations continues to be important as well, and needs to be attention paid to it. Local landing pages. Google has a schema for local landing pages, and what we recommend that you do when you're establishing local landing pages is look at the information that's critical on the Google My Business page. If you take that information from the Google My Business page and you put it into the local landing page, Google considers all of that information as critical. And so you're not going to get penalized for duplicate information. You can almost look at these landing pages as being a super citation. And if you cross-link them to the Google My Business page through the PID and CID, you're going to get a lot of signaling going back and forth between the local landing pages and the Google My Business page, which Google is going to realize. And what we see happening when that realization starts to click is Google starts to expand the SEO ranking for that Google My Business page to cover a much larger area. So they should be restricted to a single keyword for a service that is promoted on the Google My Business page. And it should target suburbs or neighborhoods that have GPS coordinates with Google. And that will allow you to stretch out your local optimization. Citations, we suggest you should look at them in a little bit different way. We recommend turning on voice activation for the Google Business Profile and for the local landing pages. And as such, we suggest that you look at using the top 4 vocal assistant sites in your citations. We recommend the top 2 search engines, the top 5 social sites, and we find that if we work with the top 8 GPS and mapping sites, it really pushes up ranking in the local map pack. Then we recommend the use of the 19 other top directories in that client's area. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with this GIF. This is a third-party tool that we use. There's several of them out there. This one happens to be from Local Viking, and this is an accountant client of ours. And it shows you what can happen when you optimize the Google Business Profile and you employ these tricks, I guess we'll call them, that we've been sharing with you today. When this turns orange, you can see this is a 7 mile by 7 mile grid. So each dot represents 1 square mile. And this is looking at ranking of particular keyword. So when we started, none of their keywords were in the top 5 positions on page 1. Most of them were on page 2 or in position 5 or higher on page 1. And this client happened to accelerate very quickly. Within 30 days, we had 2 of their keywords in the first position on organic search and in the first position in the local map pack. That's unusual. Normally, we tell the client to consider it'll take about 60 to 90 days. That's assuming they already have some of their keywords in the top 20. So if you want to test a business, we're happy to do that for you. If you send us the Google Business Profile PID or CID or the map URL and 3 top keywords, we'll go and create a grid for that business for you, and you can see how that business is performing at this time. From a local map pack situation, when we're running the diagnostic, we also always have to consider the situation and time of day where the business is located. We find quite often if we run the diagnostic on Sunday and the business is closed on Sunday, they won't show up in the local map pack. But if we run it on Monday during business hours, they will show up in the local map pack. And so we take that into consideration when we're running the diagnostic. This is not an accurate science. Local Viking is basically scraping information, and based on that information, the algorithm is making an educated guess on what the ranking is. But we quite often go back and use SEMrush or another tool to validate that data, and it's pretty accurate. So if you would like us to test your business or test a client's business, we're happy to do that for you. And we'll send you a grid report to show you how you're ranking or they're ranking. You can just send the information to me, kevin.brady@digitalmarketingpeople.org. We'll open the floor now for questions.
So we did have a question from Fedor. He's asking, how do you optimize the GMB in order to appear #1 on certain keywords? He's asking if you do that with Local Viking, or is maybe that just a reporting tool?
Local Viking is just a reporting tool. We have, this can be done manually, and I talk to a lot of SEO agencies that do this work manually, that set up the landing pages. We have a proprietary tool which allows us to spin up literally thousands of landing pages programmatically and geo-position them. So that's an amazing tool, saves a ton of time. The Google My Business page, we're optimizing manually right now. We usually end up optimizing Google My Business, Yelp, and Bing. And there isn't a tool that will optimize them all simultaneously at this point.
I would just add to that for Fedor, while you're optimizing, you want to make sure you optimize each of those components of the GMB, now Google Business Profile. but also pay special attention to the GMB categories. And as you're building the landing pages that are going to, like geo-positioned landing pages, which you can do with JSON LD, you want to make sure that these landing pages focus essentially just on one keyword. And then you can, obviously you can create many of these geo-positioned landing pages, but make sure that these landing pages have the GMB category as one of the keywords, because Google is already optimizing their entire ecosystem around these categories. If you want to dominate for local search, you got to hit those categories as a key factor. Any other questions? Feel free to throw them into the chat, or just come off mute and you can ask directly. But we're fairly small.
Hi, how are you? Fedor again.
Hey.
Yes, my question about how to optimize GMB comes to, I usually, for my clients, I optimize GMB in terms of, trying to populate everything, good pictures, good posts, and this helped a lot, right? And of course, using keywords in, for example, I know that this is not supposed to be done, but it is not overpopulating the GMB profile with keywords. Of course, you have to, you have to keep it real at some point, right?
Yes.
And in regards of the landing page you're mentioning, that has to work with Google My Business, and talking about just maybe a couple of keywords, specific keywords. I was not that much aware that we have to optimize this keyword in the landing page. Landing page, you're talking about the web page, or just a landing page for conversions for the business?
It is a landing page. It's really a miniature website, and it's geo-positioned. It will rank where we place it. We structure them in a subdomain, and so it might be, maybe if your client is in Atlanta, it might be a subdomain Atlanta dot their business name dot the keyword that we're optimizing for, and the longitude and latitude that the landing page is located at.
Of course. All right. Perfect. Because what I do usually is just placing the web page in, the original web page of my client in the Google My Business, and try at some point to include the links. But you know how web page are, have the home page and many sub pages inside, and it's optimizing for just one is difficult. So I was trying to pick up your brain on that regards. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Something that works fine for me, maybe not necessarily number one position in every single dot on the grid that you show us in Local Viking. I have placed some of my clients 5 miles around, most of them 1 or 2. I'm just trying my best to optimize for more than 5 miles out. So maybe trying to optimize the web page or the landing page could be a good trick. So far, I've been in organic only. I've been able to rank some of my clients in first page around like 3 to 5 miles is fine, but besides that, it's a little bit trickier.
We use landing pages to overcome that. So if we're focused on a 7 mile by 7 mile grid in most locations, we will spin up 50 landing pages. Yeah. If we want to cover 10 miles, we'll spin up 100. If we want to cover 15 miles, we'll spin up 200. There is a limitation depending on the type of business. as to what Google's algorithm will consider is local. So if you're selling pizza slices, they're not going to buy that people are going to drive 15 miles to get a pizza slice.
Of course, no.
On the other hand,
my
on the other hand,
clients
we have
are basically, yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. My clients are dentists, and it's already known, that people drive only 10 miles away from work or from home, and that's about it. After 10 miles, I don't do anything because it's not worth it.
Yeah, we have a client that does flotation pods for people that suffer from PTSD or stress-related mental health issues, and he doesn't have a competitor within 25 miles, so he's covering about 25 mile by 25 mile grid with 200 landing pages.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. Thank you very much for your tips. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so part of the trick there is, as you're creating these landing pages, it's very laborious. the effort involved in creating these can be tremendous, especially if you're talking 50 to 100 landing pages. So that's where you want to get some a platform that can do that for you, to really save some time, that can still, like, it can't be just a landing page, right? It's got to be fully optimized, but it also has to be super, super high speed. Typically there's just simple one-page landing pages, but they got to load like really, really fast. We got a question here from Zach. How do you do this at scale? For example, for a franchise network with a brand?
So that's a good question, Zach. Appreciate that. For franchise operations or multiple office locations, it depends on the business approach. If each office has a GMB, then we would create a engagement with each office and position landing pages for the area of that office. Most franchises are have boundaries based on zip code. And so positioning landing pages in neighborhoods makes it very easy to control and prevent overlap between the different areas. And our platform allows us to manage multiple offices under one client's name. And so if they've got 50 or 70 or 1,000 offices, it's very easy for us to manage it.
Another question from Christy. She says, so each page's copy needs to be unique too. How can it, or can it be automated so that we're not creating duplicate content? I guess that's what it boils down to. Is that right, Christy?
Yeah. Because when we do landing pages and we develop them programmatically, the information on the landing page changes based on where it's going to be positioned, what neighborhood it's going to be in. The keyword remains the same, the pictures remain the same, the color schema is the same, but the areas regarding local optimization change. And because the only information on the landing page is information that Google considers to be critical, that's why I said I think Google actually looks at them as like a super citation. And because it's not linking to anything other than the client's Google My Business page or website, we don't end up with any duplicate content issues.
Yeah. Another question from Christopher. He says, do you mind, or do you recommend any specific CMS systems to build these local pages? And he thanks you for your presentation. I'm going to just throw a link into the chat while Kevin's answering this. I'm assuming we're going to be on the same page here.
Yeah. This is something that we were looking at automating for a very long time because, as Eric said, it's very laborious to create these landing pages, and then it's very laborious to maintain them on an ongoing basis. And so that's why we have this platform that we created, which is a SaaS platform, which works off a fixed data set. And so the landing pages are all developed programmatically to deploy in specific geo positions. And when there is a change in the basic information for the business, we just have to change the data set for that client, and it automatically replicates across all of the digital properties that the client is engaged with us for. And takes seconds to maintain. And the platform will spin up, it'll spin up 100 landing pages in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah,
we have 8 different templates as well, and the client could just check out what it looks like on different templates and choose the one they want. They can also do custom templates if they would like, which is usually larger companies like Mercedes. We did a custom template for Mercedes.
Yeah, this system was originally designed just for, for the local agency to use. And then as it was being developed, the development team figured this is, every agency will need this. So it's really been designed essentially from the beginning for other agencies to be able to use. So we do have that available for people, for other agencies to use. It's not available for the public, of course, but other agencies can get on board with that. And so I put a link in the chat. It's called proximitybooster.info. That'll redirect to a page with some information. Definitely feel free to hit the book a consultation link, which will put you in a meeting with Kevin. And yeah, we'd love to chat with you about getting you able to use the system, because it literally saves thousands of hours. It's ridiculous how long it takes to do these things effectively and have high speed, fully optimized landing pages. Got another question here from Brian. There's mixed SEO data on whether the landing pages should be part of navigation or linked through internal linking structure. Your thoughts?
So there's 2 prongs to that, 2 answers to that question, I guess, in a broader sense. A question came up earlier about, how we link the landing pages and the area that they can cover. And so one of the reasons we use a subdomain is our platform hosts all of the landing pages on AWS, and we basically load landing pages as a silo, not as a waterfall, which is a typical approach, which we can do on AWS. And so because they load as a silo, our landing pages typically load in about 1/4 of a second. And that's one of the reasons why Google really likes them and ranks them high quickly. There is, as we talked about previously, an expectation on Google's part as to what is local for a particular type of business. And we have clients that operate in one city, but also sell in cities that are much further away, 25, 50, or 75 miles away. And so while in the city that they're in the area that Google considers to be local, we cross-link the landing pages to the Google My Business page. Also, of course, the Google My Business page is linked to the client's website. But if we have a client that operates in an area that is in Google's mind, not local, we spin up the same landing pages as we do for the Google My Business page, but instead of cross-linking them to the the Google My Business page, we cross-link them to the client's website. That's the only difference. The interesting effect that has is the Google algorithms recognize that we already have a very strong presence locally, and they're willing to accept these landing pages as being further away. And so it tends to push up the website's SEO ranking better than if we just had landing pages farther away and not the Google My Business page, or just the Google My Business page and not landing pages farther away.
We've had quite a few people asking a little bit more about the platform. We didn't want to turn this into a sales pitch. This was meant to be informative and to deliver value for you. But I put the links in the chat, so definitely feel free to book some time with Kevin. We'd love to chat with you about your agency being able to use this platform, because it's, like I said, it's been super effective for us and our clients. There are recommended prices. These are client end price recommendations. Of course, you as an agency will pay much less than that in order to make some margin on those offerings. But yeah, feel free to check that out. We're just coming up. We're about 8 minutes past what we had originally planned for the webinar. We want to respect your time. Any final questions before we wrap up, or any final words from you, Kevin?
Just happy to be with you today, and I really enjoyed the questions. Great questions. I would just go back and mention this this trend that we've seen about posting questions or accepting questions on the Google My Business page and providing answers has been very recent, that Google has started to lend this a much higher weight in ranking. And so there's a good opportunity in the near term to make a significant difference on your client's Google My Business page ranking. And of course, that gets reflected in the web page ranking by creating those questions and answering them and getting people to like them.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it there. Thanks, everybody, for attending. We wish you much success in 2022 with your local SEO work. We'd love to connect with you again, so feel free to reach out directly to Kevin at his email, or from that book a consultation link in the chat. We'll send a recording out of this video to everybody, and thanks. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.